That we're going to be hearing about is energy auditing on campus. And Luke Van den Langenberg is, did I say that okay?
Van Langenberg.
Langenberg. We'll keep working on it. Okay, from We Concern at UW Energy Hub. Welcome. You have 5 minutes.
All right. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about energy. So I'm a junior at UW-Madison studying nuclear engineering. So I just love energy and what it has to offer. But so We Concern has been doing energy audits on campus and buildings. It started here. It started before I got here with the We Concern program in 2006, and especially Barnhardt looked at. He's head of FPM, which is Facility Planning Management, and he looked at how could we reduce the energy bill of UW to save money that a lot of students give in fees and all that, and also to reduce, have a better environment and to reduce carbon emissions to make a cleaner Madison and a cleaner world. But We Concern has worked towards waste elimination because 70% of UW's energy use provides campus buildings with heating, cooling, and ventilation. So I guess one of the big things is how can we improve building efficiency? How can we work into make the buildings more efficient? And heating and cooling is a big part of that issue. With ventilation, there's been a lot of upgrades in the last 5 years, new buildings, new electric work, new HVAC systems that can improve this efficiency, which is great. And how can we have like a smarter campus? Lowering the temperature in campus buildings by 1 degree in the winter could reduce our energy bill by $500,000 annually. So like these buildings take a lot of energy, and reducing the energy bill by even a small amount with the low-hanging fruit, even some of the higher-hanging fruit, can drastically take the expenses down and reduce the energy. But one of the biggest energy users in the campus is the research lab, because they have a lot of refrigeration. They have a lot of experiments going on all times of the night. Lights, energy, big experiments, especially with like fusion, fission, plasmas. You need a lot of energy to do that. So research labs cover 60% of campus energy use. So I guess the big question is, how can we reduce that? How can we reduce that and look into efficiency on that side? So what's cool is through these energy audits, we can see how much a building is using and look into closing off. I think one thing Barnhardt did is close off a bunch of the fume hoods that weren't being used so that we're not expelling energy into the sky. So actually, if you look at Chamberlain Hall, they did some energy efficiency there, which resulted in 66% savings, which is $1 million a year in utility bill. So that's pretty cool, because then we can invest that money back into research, we can invest that money back into students, into new buildings, and ultimately have new discoveries and technology that can put our world forward. So I mean, the buildings is one of the biggest things because they're the biggest energy users. But there's also other things that use energy, like there's all the computers on campus. And but I guess the big thing is we finally just switched from coal at the Charter Street plant, which was to natural gas, which is great because natural gas burns cleaner. But how can we take the natural gas and maybe do like some companies are doing and reinvest the money that we've saved into green energy? I mean, they put up some solar panels on the Wisconsin Energy Institute and Dijon, which is great. I mean, UW-Madison is ranked 8th in the nation in 2012 for green power use, which is pretty great.
30 seconds.
Okay, so I guess just to summarize, if you're making a unit of energy at the thing, a lot of it's wasted through the system of transmission and heat. So how can we conserve energy and make energy in different ways that would, I guess that's a big question, to save energy on campus in the apartments and in our buildings.
Okay. So I'm racking up issues as you should as well, but I heard buildings, you're focusing on research facilities, especially labs. So there's think in your head about what the main issues are, but especially the panelists and you will later on really get to dig into it. Thanks for being the first one. So next person up is Parker Jones, who is with FH King, Student for Sustainable Agriculture. He will talk about increasing local food options in dining halls.
Yeah. So hello everyone, my name is Parker Jones. I'm the finance director of FH King. Been with FH King for almost 3 years now. I'll also be speaking with Paige Kelly, who's a long-standing director of Slope UW. So I think the issue of bringing local food into dining halls is one that, like many of these issues, is recurrently brought up to university dining services, housing culinary services. And then it's one that we at FH King would love to see as well. I think that this overall thought of bringing local food in is something that I imagine most of you all are relatively familiar with living in Madison. It's something that's very much sort of on the popular mind at this time in the city. So I don't want to belabor too much the benefits of doing that, both economically, culturally, increasing our sort of marketability as a university. All of these very tangible benefits, both directly to our school and to our school's impact everywhere, like in other places, that really can't be brought by bringing local food in. I think that some of the things that would be nice to touch on today are sort of the growing student interest, which I'll let Paige talk about in a minute, but also that as the University of Wisconsin and being in Madison, we have a lot of really good networking opportunities in place, both through other groups and businesses in our community that are facilitating this food hub sort of aggregation of local produce, GAP certified produce, making it accessible to businesses and schools elsewhere in the Madison community, and looking at how we can be a part of that, as well as looking at how bringing local food in could perhaps be more than just the salad bar in the dining hall came from a farm in Blue Mounds, but that it could become this really beautiful way to involve students in the food they're eating, to provide meaningful opportunities to get involved in things outside of the university model, and to be, for students, especially freshmen, to kind of have a good opportunity to become involved in the Madison community. And so I think that wasn't much of a segue into giving it.
Yeah, so I have been involved with Social for the last year and a half, specifically with we have 5 projects, but the one I'm specifically working with is the cafe, which is a student-led dining service, basically, that's led from 11:30 to 2 every Wednesday in the basement of a church on campus. And what we've really noticed is that, let alone the fact that we have interns who are passionate about it, that volunteer 20 hours a week to facilitate this cafe every week. We've shown significant growth in the last year, that we're now serving around 220 people a week in 2.5 hours. And I think that really speaks for itself in the interest on campus for sustainable sources of food that people feel good buying, but also that are at an affordable cost. And so I think our initiative has been just to offer a venue for people to come in and facilitate conversations about local food, but more so providing people with good food. And we've, Slow Food ourselves, have had issues, reaching some of the, food service issues, like catering on campus has been hard because there's kind of a monopoly of dining hall services, or the UW food catering or service having a monopoly over some of the venues on campus. And so as far as expanding our ability to cater, it's been an issue because a lot of the time it would be within UW buildings, but we don't have the right to serve there. And so expanding our reach within UW campus is in part since we are kind of limited to serving in the crossing, but there's obviously a huge interest from the student body as well as from the greater UW community. So that's something that I'd like to speak about, is how we could overcome that difficulty that we face with UW service or dining services. Yeah.
So it's all about taking local and healthy foods to scale.
Yeah.
That's why it's happening. Cool. All right. Next person up is Teresa Arati. Did I pronounce that right? Okay, good. And you're from Climate Action 350 at UW, and you're going to talk about divesting from fossil fuels.
Yes. So,
Welcome.
thank you. Well, thank you all for coming and engaging with all these various student organizations. It's really important. I am, and my peer, Emmy Burns, we're from Climate Action 350 UW, which is the university chapter of an international grassroots movement called 350.org that's working to raise climate change awareness and dialogue and organizing to effect real action in the name of climate justice. So the campaign that we're currently focusing on here on campus is divestment from fossil fuels. We're one of over 250 colleges and universities across the country with active divestment campaigns, asking the endowments that help fund higher education to divest from fossil fuels. So we're asking the UW Foundation, which holds $1.9 billion in investments, to immediately freeze any new investments in fossil fuels, and within 5 years to divest from the top 200 coal, oil, and gas extraction companies. Why are we asking for divestment? Well, there's no doubt that the fossil fuel industry is profitable in the short term. Long term, it's a bad investment, and I'll get back to that. But in the short term, yes, it's profitable because this industry has been able to pollute for free while the rest of the world pays the cost. But there are lots of ways to make money beyond fossil fuels. The money can be put into other profitable investments, but the bottom line is that divestment is the only moral choice for institutions and their endowments that care about the economy, society, and this planet that their students are going to inherit. So here's the issue. Climate change is happening and it's accelerating. We are witnessing increasing impacts of global warming more and more consistently. In the last year alone, our country experienced record-breaking heat, droughts, and hurricanes, which impacted hundreds of thousands of people and cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars. Hurricane Sandy alone cost $50 billion in damages. And that's just our country, let alone the rest of the world, that for the majority, when these things happen, they don't have the means to be as resilient as we are. The poorest and the most vulnerable, those people who have done the least to cause global warming, they're the ones who are hit the first and the hardest. And in many places, they have little to no means to voice their opposition to what is happening to them. So it's up to us. We who have the freedom to raise our voices in opposition to planet wreckage, we need to do something. And I don't need to tell you that, you all know that. But let me go a bit more into why divestment. Experts agree that global warming is caused by humans burning fossil fuels will continue to accelerate and intensify tragic climate disasters. The scientific consensus is clear and overwhelming. We cannot safely burn even half of the global fossil fuel reserves without dangerously warming the planet for several thousands of years. Scientists have defined catastrophe as any global warming beyond 2 degrees Celsius. We can emit roughly another 565 gigatons of carbon dioxide and still stay below 2 degrees. But the fossil fuel industry has 2,795 gigatons of carbon dioxide in the reserves, and they're constantly looking for more. So what does that mean? That means they're planning on burning 5 times more carbon than is safe to burn. And while much of these fossil fuels are safely in the ground now, they are already above ground economically. They are figured into share prices, companies borrow money against them, national budgets are based off of them. And yet 167 countries signed an international accord agreeing that deep cuts in global emissions are required to hold the increase in global temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. So this all adds up to a carbon bubble that will eventually burst. We cannot burn all the reserves that loads of dollars are already invested in. That's a bad investment. So not only is it a bad investment, but it's an immoral investment. Divestment in fossil fuels is based off of the idea that if it is wrong to wreck the planet, then it is wrong to profit from that wreckage. The UW Foundation has fiduciary responsibilities. So yes, one, they should divest because it is a bad long-term investment. Oh, okay.
I'm the hook, just so you know.
What'd you say?
I'm the hook.
You're the hook. Okay. Okay. Well, we also feel that they should align their investments with the values of the universities, see the university mission for agreement with that. So right now, we have delivered over 1,200 petitions and over 100 faculty and staff endorsements in support of divestment to the president of the UW Foundation. The TAA has already passed a resolution in support. And this coming Monday, May 6th at 3:30 in 272 Bascom, at the Faculty Senate meeting, we're hoping that the Faculty Senate will pass a resolution in support of divestment. So we've got some resolutions that you can take a look at if you haven't seen this already, and I'd just like to encourage everybody here to go to that meeting and show your support.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry for going over.
Just okay. So big issue in divestment. So Katie Johnson, you're next from Amnesty International. That's the UW-Madison chapter, and she'll be talking about ending the purchase of conflict mineral technologies at the UW.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm really glad that we were able to put conflict minerals on the table today. So I'm the president of Amnesty International on campus, and I'd like to talk briefly about what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's always a shame to try to sum this up in just a few minutes, but Congo is currently home to the deadliest war since World War II. 6 million people have died there due to the violence since 1996, and about 1,100 women are raped every single day there. So much of this violence is funded by the trade in conflict minerals. So it's really helpful here if you're familiar with the concept of blood diamonds, to use that as kind of a frame of reference. So conflict minerals are tin, tungsten, tantalum, and gold. They're mined in rebel-controlled mines in eastern Congo. They're smuggled onto the international market, and then they end up in our electronics. So they're in our phones, laptops, tablets, any other electronics you can think of. So when we buy these electronics, we're indirectly funding the war in Congo. And we're not talking about a small amount of money. Most estimates say that the rebels make about $120 million each year off of profits of conflict minerals, which can buy an incredible amount of weapons and ammunition in eastern Congo. So we would like to work with the electronics companies to figure out ways to responsibly invest in eastern Congo and in the mineral sector there. So that we're not supporting these rebel-controlled mines that oftentimes have slave-like conditions. The rebels use rape, extrajudicial killings, torture, all sorts of nasty measures to intimidate local communities into continuing to working in the mines. So how does this relate to our university? Several organizations in DC a few years back who cared about ending the war in Congo got together, started talking to electronics companies and asking them, how can we get you to care about what's happening in Congo? And they heard time and time again, once colleges and universities start speaking out. And that's for two main reasons. The first is that college students are the key demographic for every single electronics company out there. The second, and I'm sure I don't have to tell all of you this, is that universities are huge purchasers of and investors in these companies. I mean, we're an engineering hall, it's our center. It's remarkable how much our university spends on electronics. So colleges and universities speaking out really, really means something. So we would like the administration to speak out and at this point pass a symbolic statement of support, urging the electronics companies that we work with to move towards conflict-free technology when possible. And conflict-free simply means not using conflict minerals and tracing where they get their minerals from. So that would be the first step, the first step would be legally and financially non-binding at all, more just a symbolic statement of support. Then from there, ideally the second step would be a change in investment policy, and then a change in procurement policy, so actually factoring in the conflict-free status of a product before we could buy it. So we're seeing this, the campaign's been around for a couple of years just in the US now, and there's over 150 campuses involved, and about 15 schools, including Duke, Stanford, Penn, Ohio University, have already passed these resolutions. And DePaul University in Indiana actually already changed the way they purchase, which is pretty incredible. So a little bit quickly about our campaign on campus. So we started this fall. We had about 100 people at our kickoff. Since then, we've had a lot of great events. My personal favorite was International Women's Day. We set a goal to raise 1,100 signatures on our statement of support to honor the 1,100 women raped every day in Congo. And we were actually able to get those signatures, and now we have about 1,200 signatures on that statement of support. We worked with some incredible student organizations on campus, African Student Association, PAVE, Students Against Trafficking, TAWI, just to name a few. And then last week, I'm really excited to announce that ASM, our student government, unanimously passed a resolution in support of our campaign on campus, which is wonderful that our student government has shown their support for what we're doing. So I realize that this is a complicated issue, and it's hard to sum up in 5 minutes, so I'm happy to go into the sustainability aspect of it during the discussion period or anything else that might come up. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Last but not least, Aaron Conrad from Rethink Wisconsin and the bottle-free Badgers. You'll talk about eliminating the sale of bottled water on campus. Well,
okay. My name's Aaron. I'm a freshman here at UW and an intended geological engineer. And the Bottle-Free Badgers campaign is brand new to campus. We just started this semester, and it is housed under the student org Rethink Wisconsin. However, it is not just our student org that's working on this issue. We are currently partnered with 7 other student orgs, including Whisper and the ASM Sustainability Committee. So it's a huge topic, and a lot of the other student orgs on campus agree with what we are trying to do. So what are we trying to achieve as Bottle-Free Badgers? A Bottle-Free Badger would be someone who doesn't buy single-use plastic water bottles 1 liter or less anywhere on campus. That includes athletics, housing, and the unions. And just to give a couple reasons why eliminating bottled water makes sense, is that bottled water leads to water shortages around other places in the U.S. It contributes to climate change. Our landfills can't support the waste because not everyone recycles the plastic bottles. Bottled water is not safer. It may be a rumor that it is, but there's less testing done. There's one person in the FDA that is in charge of all bottled water testing, and if your bottled water doesn't cross state lines, it never has to be tested. Meanwhile, tap water is tested regularly, maybe 20 times a day, depending on the city. It's much safer, and then you know immediately if E. coli or another major bacteria is in the water. So it's definitely safer. And there's no leakage into your water, as in a plastic water bottle, the BPA from the bottle seeps into the water, or other chemicals that we don't know about. And water is a human right, and therefore shouldn't be privatized. So I'm just going to touch base on water privatization real quick. In India, Coke privatized the water, and therefore they were not allowed to have access to clean and safe drinking water from tap. So the average American the average citizen over there doesn't make much, and therefore they couldn't afford safe drinking water, and they were going to their dirty streams and lakes where they could just get drinking water because they couldn't afford the bottled water. And right now, Coke says that under 0.01% of the water is bottled here in the U.S., but if this continues to grow, they're going to privatize the water, and we don't want that. The average American will not be able to afford clean and safe drinking water. So we need to invest in our water infrastructure in the cities and not allow this water privatization to happen. Currently, Concord, Massachusetts is the first city in the U.S. to entirely ban the sale of single-use plastic water bottles, and this is huge. The city is about 24,000 people, so about half the size of UW-Madison, and that just shows that if the city has done it, we can do it. Currently, no university the size of UW-Madison has banned the bottle, but 17 others have. And the closest one to our size is the University of Vermont, which is where Oshie is. You all know what that is. And they currently eliminated the sale of single-use water bottles this year, and that was a huge win for them and really cool. And we're just trying to follow in their footsteps and do a good thing. And the average American spends around $1,500 a year on bottled water, and when you're a student, $1,500 is a lot. You can buy books, you can pay a quarter of your housing bill, there's a lot of other things that you can do with your money. So we went out to the students and we were like, okay, so tell us why you do or don't buy bottled water. And there's a lot of different reasons that we'll touch base on, but at the end of the survey, the question was, would you be in support of a reduction, ultimately leading towards an elimination of single-use water bottles on campus? 81% of respondents said yes, they would be in support of this. So why don't we listen to the people? Why don't we listen to the students and eliminate the sale of single-use plastic water bottles? Okay, so yeah, we were trying to get reusables. We handed out a bunch on Earth Day, which is really cool. And we're just looking to move forward with the campaign.
Brilliant. Thank you all very much. So it wasn't that long ago, about 25 years ago, when I was trying to get styrofoam out of the halls of Long Beach State University. So I totally get this. On a fundamental level, how many obstacles there are logistically, operationally, sometimes paradigmatically, people just not thinking about the issue at all. So I'm just thrilled that you all are doing this. And it takes a huge amount of courage to be able to come forward with these issues at the state government